One rule in marriage: never marry a mama's boy. After getting married, because the woman was unable to have children, her mother-in-law mocked and ridiculed her every day. Her husband was even worse. Without discussing it with his wife, he quit his job on impulse, spending his days fantasizing about making big money trading stocks at home, while leaving his wife to shoulder the monthly mortgage and living expenses alone. Under the immense pressure, the woman tragically developed cancer. Yet after she fell ill, her mother-in-law showed not a shred of concern. The first thing her husband thought about wasn't her health, it was who would cook for him in the future. This was Ji-won's hopeless life. Thankfully, her best friend would occasionally visit her in the hospital, cheering her up and encouraging her. Ji-won believed that her best friend was the only person who truly cared about her. When the hospital notified her that medical fees were due, Ji-won realized all the money she had earned while working had gone into supporting the household. Now, she hoped her husband would at least pay for her medical expenses, but he refused to answer her calls. Ji-won decided to return home to ask him for the money in person. On the way, the taxi driver noticed Ji-won's low spirits and offered comforting words. He even deliberately chose a route lined with falling cherry blossoms, Ji-won's favorite scenery. When she got out of the car, the kind-hearted driver refused to accept the fare and encouraged her, telling her everything would be okay. Enduring her illness, Ji-won struggled to the front door of her home, only to discover her best friend's high heels sitting in the entryway. From the bedroom came the intimate voices of her husband and her friend. Even worse, her husband had secretly purchased cancer insurance early on and was now hoping Ji-won would die so he could collect the payout. Enraged, Ji-won stormed in and began smashing everything in sight. The scumbag husband mocked her, saying she was powerless to do anything. The best friend showed no remorse either, claiming that since Ji-won was going to die anyway, she might as well hand over her husband. In her fury, Ji-won got into a physical altercation with her friend. Her husband sided with the mistress and shoved Ji-won to the ground. Her head struck the coffee table, killing her instantly. Moments later, a voice appeared in her ears. When Ji-won looked closely, she saw it was her scumbag husband. Ji-won screamed and immediately began beating him. The husband clenched his fists, about to strike her, but just then a man pushed him aside and pulled Ji-won away. The man was Ji-hak, a department head at her company, and her direct superior. Only then did Ji-won realize that she, who had just been killed by her husband, was now alive and standing inside her workplace. Her legs went weak and Ji-hak caught her just in time. When Ji-won looked again, the burn scar that had once been on her hand was gone. In the mirror, she saw herself wearing professional office makeup, looking several years younger. Unable to believe it, she stepped back and accidentally fell after hitting the corner of a desk. A kettle of hot water was about to fall. At the critical moment, Ji-hak pushed it away, protecting Ji-won. Among the crowd, her best friend wore a worried expression. Seeing her husband and friend again caused memories of betrayal to flood Ji-won's mind. Unable to accept it, Ji-won ran out of the company. On the stairs, she nearly fell again, once more saved by Ji-hak. Outside the subway station, amidst the busy traffic, Ji-won was shocked to see advertisements on nearby buildings from 10 years ago. Ji-hak helped her pick up her fallen shoe. After calming down, he walked her home and even gave her some money out of concern. Back at home, Ji-won discovered that the food in the refrigerator all had production dates from 10 years ago. Ji-hak bought her food and drinks. Ji-won couldn't help but smile. It was warmth she had rarely felt in her life. After eating, Ji-won tried to organize her thoughts. She was certain that her future life, where she developed cancer, had not been a dream. She also clearly remembered that Ji-hak was actually a wealthy heir who would inherit his family's company in a few years. Ji-won concluded that she likely traveled back in time 10 years. Just as she was thinking, someone opened the door. It was her future scumbag husband, now her boyfriend. He asked whether her abnormal behavior was due to pregnancy. Ji-won remembered that 10 years ago she had suffered from gastritis, which he had mistakenly assumed was pregnancy. Pretending to care, the boyfriend urged her to abort the baby and continue working. Ji-won sneered. Clearly, he was already planning to live off her in the future. She explained she wasn't pregnant and demanded to break up. The boyfriend exploded. His male pride and ego couldn't tolerate being dumped. The argument escalated to the police station, but the officers treated it as a typical lover's quarrel. Ji-won realized she would need another way to get rid of him. After returning home, Ji-won planned to move out. When she checked her bank account, she saw she only had enough money to survive for 1 month. All the money she had worked so hard for had gone into supporting her useless boyfriend. He sent her messages again, apologizing while promising to make money through stock trading. The word stocks sparked an idea. Ji-won remembered a stock that had skyrocketed 10 years ago. If she bought it now, she would definitely make a fortune. Re-energized, she decided to use her knowledge from the future to earn money and live properly. The next day's medical checkup confirmed she was perfectly healthy. Overjoyed, Ji-won resolved to seize this second chance at life. She went to the library to study stocks, where she coincidentally ran into Ji-hock. Ji-won noticed a burn scar on Ji-hock's wrist, the one he had gotten while blocking the kettle for her. Feeling guilty, she agreed to treat him to a meal. Only then did she realize that Ji-hock's rich, refined aura was impossible to hide. As steam from his freshly permed hair fogged up his glasses, he removed them. Ji-won froze. How had she never noticed before that Ji-hock was not only a gentleman, but also very handsome? Ji-hock asked whether she was planning to resign. Ji-won nodded. Having gained a second life, she wanted to cherish it and make changes. Ji-won bought books on interior design. Ji-hock guessed she might be considering marriage. Ji-won thought about how this year had originally been when she planned to marry her boyfriend. She casually agreed outwardly, but inside she thought the exact opposite. Never, even if I die. Hearing that Ji-won was considering marriage, displeasure flickered across Ji-hock's face. Just as he was about to speak, Ji-won's best friend called. Ji-won ignored it, having already warned herself to be wary of her fake concern. Suddenly, Ji-won grabbed Ji-hock's arm and realized the burn on his hand was identical to the scars she once had. As they locked eyes, Ji-hock gazed at her tenderly, once again urging her not to resign. In his eyes, Ji-won was someone with real ability. Ji-hock's trust warmed Ji-won's heart. She didn't notice that when she turned away, Ji-hock looked back at her longingly. Sitting in a shop, drinking the licorice tea Ji-hock bought her, Ji-won felt that this man was leagues beyond her scumbag boyfriend. Ji-hock's words motivated her deeply. She had always had many ambitions at work, but after marriage, unable to oppose her husband, she had never fought for them. The next day at work, Ji-won avoided her boyfriend while quickly buying the stock that was about to skyrocket. In front of her best friend, she deliberately told a story about a husband cheating with his wife's friend. The best friend expressed righteous anger on behalf of the betrayed wife. Ji-won found it bitterly ironic. During a work break, a cup on her desk began to slide. She remembered that in the past, trying to catch it had caused Ji-hock to trip her. This time, she deliberately avoided him and caught the cup without injury. At that moment, Ji-won realized that perhaps the future could be changed, but shortly after, she tripped over a cart and fell, the injury landing on the exact same spot she had avoided earlier. Seeing the burn mark on Ji-hock's hand, Ji-won finally understood the connection. Some events were inevitable. She couldn't change what would happen, but she could change to whom it happened. In other words, as long as misfortune happened to someone else, it would spare her, just as someone else had once taken her place in disaster. With that realization, Ji-won made her decision. She would make her best friend marry her boyfriend. That way, the miserable fate that once belonged to her would be transferred to her friend. While she was thinking about this, the section chief suddenly criticized Ji-won for buying coffee during work hours. Ji-won was about to apologize when department head Ji-hock abruptly slammed his fist against the elevator wall. Jihak was the highest-ranking person in their department, and the section chief immediately fell silent. Jihak took Jiwon to the rooftop and told her to enjoy her coffee without distractions. Jiwon admitted that because of Jihak's earlier encouragement, she no longer intended to resign. Instead, Jiwon was determined to achieve something in her career. Hearing this, Jihak smiled. This was the first time Jiwon had ever seen a smile on the face of the usually cold and aloof man. Jihak seized the chance to ask whether Jiwon had plans for the weekend. As Jiwon was considering it, her best friend suddenly rushed over and cut in, claiming that she and Jiwon had already agreed to have dinner together over the weekend. Faced with the friend's fake affection, Jiwon felt extremely uncomfortable, which clearly annoyed the friend. Inside the elevator, the friend kept muttering to herself, thinking Jiwon was dull and boring and nowhere near her own level. Jiwon bought painkillers for Jihak, whose arm had been injured when he blocked the falling kettle for her. Jihak tore the tablet in half and handed it to Jiwon instead. Compared to his own injury, he was more worried about the bruise on Jiwon's knee. Taking the medicine, Jiwon found it strange. Since her rebirth, all the warmth she had felt seemed to come from Jihak. When the boyfriend saw Jiwon come out of the department head's office, he anxiously dragged her into a storage room. He accused her of seducing Jihak. For the sake of her revenge plan, Jiwon chose to endure the humiliation. She deliberately acted coy in front of him and lied, saying she had suggested breaking up earlier only because she wanted him to value her more. As expected, the scumbag boyfriend fell for it immediately. He grabbed her chin and tried to initiate intimacy. Realizing she had gone too far, Jiwon was about to resist when Assistant Manager Yang from the same department suddenly opened the door, forcing the boyfriend to leave in embarrassment. Afterward, Assistant Manager Yang reminded Jiwon that even couples are not allowed to force themselves on each other. Her words made Jiwon trust her. She would need someone reliable on the inside to carry out her revenge. At lunchtime, Jiwon deliberately created an opportunity for her boyfriend to take the best friend out to eat alone. However, the friend insisted on eating together in the company cafeteria. Jiwon noticed that the friend ordered a large portion of spicy stir-fried pork. As someone who came back from 10 years in the future, Jiwon knew exactly what scheme her friend was planning. Back then, because Jiwon had refused to eat outside, the friend had deliberately spilled the pork all over Jiwon. But now that she knew her intentions, Jiwon would not sit back helplessly. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the friend came over carrying her tray, about to bump into them. Jiwon sneered and subtly lifted her leg. As a result, the friend stumbled forward and the food in her hands spilled all over Jiwon's boyfriend who was walking towards them. The boyfriend was extremely embarrassed. Jiwon put on a fake smile and pretended to show concern, having already resolved that she would never let herself be bullied again. In the restroom, a colleague named Si-yeon had forgotten to bring a sanitary pad. Without hesitation, Jiwon helped her. They hadn't spoken much before, and Si-yeon now realized that Jiwon was both kind-hearted and beautiful. Si-yeon also mentioned that before Jiwon arrived, she had asked someone else for help, but that person not only ignored her, but also complained non-stop. Jiwon recalled that her best friend had come out of the restroom just before they got food in the cafeteria. Noticing that her boyfriend's shirt was covered in sauce, Jiwon deliberately mentioned its exorbitant price. Seeing this, the friend immediately put on an act, shyly scratching her head and speaking in a soft, delicate voice to appear weak and innocent. The scumbag boyfriend was instantly delighted. Compared to the expensive shirt his girlfriend had bought, he cared far more about another woman's opinion. He urged the friend to eat more. The friend then seized the chance to mock Jiwon, and the boyfriend, empty-headed as ever, joined in, laughing at Jiwon's eating manners. The scheming friend pretended to change sides, putting on a show of criticizing the boyfriend for saying such things. The foolish boyfriend immediately felt moved, thinking Jiwon was lucky to have such an unbelievably kind friend. Having just flattered him, the friend then turned on Si-yeon, making snide remarks laced with ridicule. When Jiwon choked on her food, Si-yeon proactively poured her some water. The friend rudely demanded that Si-yeon pour her a cup as well. However, Si-yeon was not someone to be bullied. She shot back with a sharp remark that left the friend speechless. Seizing the moment, Jiwon pressed her advantage. She deliberately had her boyfriend stay behind to eat with a friend while she went off with her new companion. In front of the boyfriend, the friend once again put on an act, emphasizing how heartless Ji-won was toward her, while claiming how much she cared about Ji-won. When the elevator doors closed, the boyfriend and the friend were squeezed to the back. Dropping her act, the friend poked the man's chest with her finger and leaned close to whisper into his ear in a flirtatious tone. After several provocative moves, Ji-won's simple-minded boyfriend nearly lost control. During a work meeting, the section chief nitpicked for no reason, criticizing the meeting materials because the staples weren't placed diagonally. The friend, eager to please, told Ji-won to pour coffee for the section chief, while she herself sidled up to him, batting her eyelashes and currying favor. Ji-won slipped the proposal that the section chief had harshly criticized into assistant manager Young's hands and asked her to take a look. After reading it, Young realized the proposal was excellent. Ji-won bluntly stated that the section chief was incompetent and had only risen through connections. Any proposal submitted by someone he disliked would be rejected without even being read. Young's proposals had also been repeatedly rejected. Ji-won knew this was personal revenge. The section chief had once failed to pursue Young romantically and now made things difficult for her at work. Ji-won proposed that they cooperate. She would resubmit the proposal word for word. If the section chief rejected it again without reading it, she hoped Young would help push the project forward with her. As expected, the section chief didn't remember the unchanged proposal at all. Young honored her promise and agreed to work with Ji-won. Seeing Ji-won chatting happily with Young, the best friend sensed something was wrong and secretly looked at Ji-won's proposal, finally understanding what was going on. That evening, the friend arranged to meet the section chief alone. She first flirted with him coquettishly, then suggested that he take Ji-won's proposal as his own and develop it together with her. Dazzled by her flattery, the section chief agreed without hesitation. The friend also gave Ji-won a pair of designer earrings, claiming they were a matching sisters set, and insisted that Ji-won wear them when they met over the weekend. The upcoming weekend was one of Ji-won's most miserable memories. When she arrived at the gathering back then, she had discovered it was actually a class reunion. Ji-won had not wanted to stay. Back in middle school, she had been a target of bullying. Sure enough, in the restroom, she overheard classmates mocking her and learned that while the friend's earrings were genuine, the so-called matching pair given to her was a cheap imitation. Ji-won swore she would never attend the class reunion again. After work, Ji-hak noticed the earring box in Ji-won's hand and immediately recognized the earrings as fake, warning her. Ji-won remembered Ji-hak had once told her the same thing. Unfortunately, back then, she had believed her friend was sincere and had taken Ji-hak's kindness for granted. Ji-hak offered to walk her home, but after hesitating briefly, Ji-won declined. She had important plans for the night. Both her boyfriend and her friend had said they would come over. Ji-won decided to accelerate her plan and get the two of them into bed together as soon as possible. For that reason, she bought whiskey, intending to get them drunk and inflamed with desire. Unexpectedly, because of Ji-won's indifferent replies, the friend suddenly got angry and decided not to come. Meanwhile, the boyfriend, already eager and intent on satisfying himself, had finished showering, removed his robe cloak, and lunged at Ji-won completely naked. As the naked boyfriend advanced toward her, Ji-won was at a loss. At the critical moment, the doorbell rang. Ji-won dashed to the door. It was a fried chicken delivery. Neither she nor her boyfriend had ordered anything, yet the delivery man kept insisting he had the right address. Seizing the chance while the door was open, Ji-won swiftly shoved the boyfriend outside and threw his shoes out after him. Realizing he couldn't force his way back in, the boyfriend reluctantly put on his shoes and left. What he didn't know was that the fried chicken delivery had been deliberately arranged by department head Ji-yuk. Ji-yuk seemed to have anticipated the boyfriend's uncontrollable lust and used the delivery as a way to protect Ji-won. After the boyfriend left, Ji-won's thoughts turned to the upcoming class reunion. As someone who had returned from the future, she knew she would be mocked and humiliated there. If she wanted to change what was destined to happen, she had to make changes now. Ji-won took out all the clothes she owned and rummaged through her limited makeup, but no matter how she tried, she couldn't pull off a look that would hold up in public. Just then, her junior colleague Shi-yeon messaged her, inviting her to go shopping over the weekend. Unlike her scheming best friend, Shi-yeon was warm, sincere, and genuinely kind. Ji-won accepted the invitation. While passing a brand boutique, she spotted the same earrings her best friend had once given her displayed in the window. Comparing them side by side, it was obvious the ones from her friend were poor in quality and clearly fake. Thinking back on how much she had trusted her friend, Ji-won felt foolish. Once, just because she forgot to buy candy her friend liked, the friend sulked unhappily. Yet when Ji-won's boyfriend showed up, the friend instantly cheered up and went off flower viewing with him, leaving Ji-won to carry all the bags alone. Now, however, Ji-won had gained a new friend in Shi-yeon. The two drank soju, ate pan-fried dumplings, and chatted freely. Ji-won confided that she had been bullied throughout high school, though she never truly understood why. Shi-yeon encouraged her to find out the truth so it wouldn't weigh on her heart forever. To cheer her up, Shi-yeon took Ji-won for a full makeover. Ji-won had only one thought. She wanted to be so beautiful it would feel like being reborn. Hairstylists, fashion coordinators, and makeup artists all worked on Ji-won. When Ji-won finally stood before the mirror, she was stunned. She looked radiant, nothing like the sickly version of herself who would develop cancer years later. Shi-yeon had her try on several outfits. With her newfound glow, every outfit looked stunning on Ji-won. She also took notice of a handbag in the store, one she remembered clearly. Years later, when she caught her friend cheating with her boyfriend, her friend had been carrying that exact bag. Thinking of this, Ji-won decided not to buy it for now. For the sake of her revenge plan, she was willing to let it go. Her best friend called, asking Ji-won for help. Before she even finished speaking, she knew she was trying to steal her project proposal. In the past, Ji-won would have agreed without hesitation, but this time she refused outright. She also warned her friend not to call her by name at the office. Ji-won's position was higher, and the friend had no right to order her around. Ji-won's sudden change caught the friend completely off guard. Determined to teach Ji-won a lesson, the friend decided to humiliate her at the upcoming class reunion. The incompetent section chief fawned over the friend, who skillfully flattered him in return. In the end, she successfully convinced him to remove Ji-won's name from the project proposal list. At the reunion, the friend continued playing the good person, telling classmates how supportive Ji-won had always been, while simultaneously spreading outrageous lies. She claimed she had been the one to recommend Ji-won for the job, that Ji-won was only a temp while she herself was a long-term employee, and that Ji-won had pursued the man she liked. When Ji-won finally arrived, the classmates were stunned. She confidently greeted everyone, and the male classmates couldn't help but marvel. She was like an ugly duckling turned swan. However, a female classmate named Shasha scoffed, saying Ji-won was merely copying her friend by wearing the same earrings and was about to embarrass herself. Ji-won remained calm. Everyone soon noticed that Ji-won's earrings had a superior shine, while the friend's looked crude and fake. The friend instantly became the butt of ridicule. Earlier, Shi-yeon had explained counterfeit grading levels to Ji-won. The earrings from her friend were such low-quality fakes they ranked at the very bottom. To protect Ji-won, Shi-yeon had lent her her own genuine earrings. Furious, the friend ripped off her earrings on the spot. Ji-won then headed to the restroom. Several classmates entered and began gossiping. Shasha realized Ji-won might be inside and kicked open a stall door, only to have Ji-won open it from the other side at the same time. Ji-won stood there, composed and imposing, startling everyone. Shasha accused her of pretending not to be there. Ji-won shot back fearlessly, asking if she was supposed to come out and greet them just because they arrived. Shasha was left speechless, but then accused Ji-won of wanting everything the friend had, including the earrings. Ji-won calmly took out the card that came with the earrings and explained that she had discovered they were fake. Out of respect for their friendship, she had bought an authentic pair herself. Shasha persisted, claiming Ji-won owed everything to her friend for getting her into the company. Ji-won immediately pulled out her business card. It clearly stated she was a full-time employee. She revealed that she had been the one to recommend her friend for the job, not the other way around. When Shasha brought up the accusation of stealing a man, Ji-won simply called her boyfriend. On speakerphone, the boyfriend publicly confirmed that he and Ji-won were in a relationship. The classmates fell silent. As Ji-won prepared to leave, Shasha pressed on, claiming that back in high school, Ji-won had forced the friend and her boyfriend to break up. This was yet another lie. The so-called boyfriend back then, known as N, had never dated the friend at all. When the friend tried to twist the story again, Ji-won immediately pointed out the contradiction. If she hadn't known they were dating, how could she have broken them up? Unable to continue the lie, the friend resorted to playing the victim. Shasha joined in, accusing Ji-won of having a bad temper and deserving to have no friends. Finally, snapping, Ji-won spoke up. Because of the friend's lies, she had been bullied for 3 years. The ones who owed an apology were not her, but the classmates who had blindly believed those lies. At that moment, a voice spoke up. It was N. In front of everyone, he stated clearly that he had never been in a relationship with the friend. Instantly, the friend became the target of everyone's criticism. What Ji-won didn't know was that N's presence was thanks to Ji-hyuk. Days earlier, Ji-hyuk had personally asked N to attend the reunion and clarify the truth. Ji-hyuk, who believes in loving only one person, had even defied his grandfather's demand that he marry a conglomerate heiress, declaring that he already had someone he loved. After explaining himself, N turned to Ji-won and asked whether Ji-won had once liked him. Flustered, Ji-won hurried away. Ji-hyuk arrived to pick her up and couldn't help but feel uneasy when he saw how stunning she looked. Later that night, N chased after Ji-won and, after much hesitation, boldly confessed his feelings. Watching from afar, Ji-hyuk couldn't suppress his jealousy. End of episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. I will be back with the rest of the story soon.